Good evening. This is the August 5th, 2019 meeting of the Charlton Water and Sewer Commission. It's now 7:34.
It is.
Excuse me, 6:34. Try to get out of here sooner. Sorry about that.
That's not helping.
Okay, so Commissioners' Public Forum, anybody here for that? Seeing none, moving on. We're now going to move to warrants abatements approval as needed.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes of July 22nd, 2019 as printed.
I'll second that.
Any questions or any, no hearing, no questions, no objections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay,
We
and
have
Jen,
another-
you're abstaining.
Do we have another pen by chance? These are dead.
Jen's abstaining. I don't think Jen was here.
I was not.
Okay, good, okay. All right, we'll have a vote, all in favor? Aye. All right,
Next, make a motion, we accept the warrants as printed as follows. Commissioner salary, $400. For Fort Electric, Inc., $1,190. WB Mason, $8.76. Osterman, $1,524.67. Viola, $38,486.07 for a grand total of $41,609.50.
I'll second that motion.
okay. Any questions, comments? I got a question on the LaForte bill, the 1190.
Yes,
Is that just a normal installation, or what happened?
two upgrades.
Two up?
So he has to go out there and change the control panels and
Fine, okay.
rewire some stuff.
Okay,
So that was for
good.
both of those addresses.
Okay, okay, good enough. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. All right, moving right down the list, do we have any abatements? In the folder there, Russ?
No abatements.
No abatements. Okay, no abatements. Then, lightning speed, let's move to our scheduled appointments. And we're gonna take our 6:40 appointment at 6:37. And Viola is here.
Take one.
Okay, step right up, please.
Zach.
Yes. This is just
Okay, guys, is this the report we're getting right here?
Everyone have one?
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, Zach is here to talk about two things. The first is the replacement of the RACO units. We have RACO alarm units at 6 of our 11 pump stations. The RACO units, the alarm units that call into the plant and let Veolia know if there's any problems with the plants, operate on a 3G wireless system. And that we're being told that 3G wireless network is being phased out and could possibly stop working as soon as the end of this year. We definitely need those alarm units in place to relay that information to Veolia. So I've attached a list of the pump stations that they're being used for, and also a couple of quotes from JW Company to replace the RACO units with new LTE 4G wireless units that will take their place and be able to communicate. So I believe you switched to RACO on these 6 pump stations probably 5 or 6 years ago. You've been paying an annual service agreement for each of these RACO units for that same amount of time. It's $360 per year per unit. Well, it's pretty much like a wireless phone bill. So, at the other pump stations, you still have the verbatim dial-up units. So you still have 5 of those. And those you still pay a monthly phone bill anyways, so you don't get away from that, the monthly bill from either side. But if you wanted to go back to the verbatims, you would have to, instead of upgrading and staying with Rayco, you'd have to go back to verbatim and install those units, which would have a significant cost as well. So we've been told, again, 3G is getting phased out. Researching online, it says probably starting the end of this year, 3G could stop working. We definitely need alarm units at the pump stations to alert us if any problems take place. So you'll see, we got a quote to do 7 units so that we have one for a spare. Those units are $1,195 apiece. So the total for the replacement units is $8,365, plus another $200 each for a new antenna that we're gonna need to put on as well. So that would be approximately $9,765 with the antennas to replace those 7 units. So, again, we have time for you to consider this, and I guess you guys can let me know your questions, and I can come back to you at another time with hopefully some answers. I'm not looking for a decision on this tonight, but it is something I think we need to look at and address to make sure that if 3G does stop working in this area after the first of the year, that we don't have 6 pump stations out there without alarm units letting us know if there's any issues.
Just to explain, Peter, the current 3G system, is this a digital system that works over the internet?
No, cell service,
It's cell service?
yes.
Okay. So,
So just like any old 3G cellular phone, they're saying will not operate anymore.
they're saying they may not operate anymore.
We're being told they will not.
Okay, now, if I had a flip phone, how many G is that?
They making those 4G,
If
It
I had a
depends.
flip phone that's 9 years old, how many G is that?
probably 3G.
Probably 3. So you're saying all those phones are gonna shut off next year?
That's what I've been told.
You've been told that by the guy who's
No,
trying to sell this?
you look it up online, and it's pretty
Yeah,
consistent
yeah,
with
yeah.
what's out there for information.
Yeah, I can understand that they're not going to, back it up, or they're not going to provide service for that. But I find it hard to believe that we're just gonna, we're shutting them out of the cellular
But
family.
again, you do a Google search, and it comes up from more than just one site, so. I just don't want to get caught, I guess, without any service for those 6 pump stations, and then we're scurrying to get that, and
Okay.
if something were to happen,
In the other stations, we have the old dial-up system.
correct.
That's probably 30 years old. I
Wow.
don't think they're 30, but dial-up system's been around for 40 years,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, for some reason, you guys went away from them on these 6 pump stations. I don't know if you thought worried
Well, we
about
thought we'd
the
get away from
phone
the phone
lines.
bill and go into the
Yeah.
digital service and see if we save any money, but obviously, it's part of the,
Well, you can say it's more reliable if a tree takes the wires down, it'll still work. Between the backup generator, the power of the pump station, and then the wireless service, it'll still call if there's an issue, which would probably about the only benefit. As far as monthly costs, it's probably a wash from one to the other between what we pay for the phone line
Yeah.
versus what we pay for the annual
yeah, again,
contract.
I'm looking at the $9,000,
Understood?
the initial cost, and it just seems crazy. So
Has there ever, oh, sorry.
No, go right ahead, Russell.
Has there ever been any issue of service down on the Mugget Hill pump station?
Yes,
Yeah, who doesn't have problems down at the bottom of Mugget Hill?
they have an antenna booster at that location, but still sporadically, we get notified that the signal is not being sent because lack of service. But
Yep.
we're notified that there is no service, so I mean, it's still not great, but at least it's something.
Zach, could we switch a verbatim out from a different pump station and put it down at the Mugget Hill Road pump station so that
Yes.
it'll be a hard landline there, and then just use, instead of purchasing another verbatim,
Yeah.
could we possibly swap it?
Yeah, and there is other options other than verbatim. So, I mean, It's just, we can get pricing on that as well.
Are there any other stations you have trouble with reception?
That's the main one.
That's the
Yeah,
most
that's,
obvious one.
yeah.
Bottom of North Sturbridge Road, is that one?
No, it's not that.
Not any issues. That, North Sturbridge Road is actually a verbatim.
Okay. Commissioners, anyone want to do anything on this, or you want to chew on it some more, or?
Yeah, I'd definitely appreciate the info. Definitely like to spend some time looking at an alternative that I have in mind that I might present to you, so.
Okay.
And also, I believe we have some of the older verbatim systems that were put on the shelf when they were removed for the Racos, so if that's something that, you know, we wanted to see. I don't know the condition of them, but they've been put in a box someplace safe, so if we do want to get away from that at, you know, a specific location, we can definitely pursue that.
Yeah, great.
Okay, Zach?
All right. So the second reason Zach is here is to talk about the peristaltic pumps that we have installed at the treatment plant. I'll let Zach run through this.
Yep. So we have a specific style pump at the treatment plant. We have, there's 4 of them in total. There's 2 that are used for our COMAG polymer system. When both trains are up and running, both polymer pumps are running. And then we have two of the peristaltic pumps that are being used for caustic feed, effluent and before COMAG. So we have, these pumps that we have are an A3 blue and white pump. With talking with Peter, we're kind of proposing that we get a spare to put on the shelf, or we get a spare or we buy a new pump to use in maybe the location that gets the most use, and then put the pump that's pulled from that location as a spare on the shelf, because they are kind of getting up there in age. We recently had one of the pumps go into a pump overload. Because we don't have any spares, we were able to track down a spare from one of the neighboring Veolia locations and get that back up and running. If we do lose one of these pumps, we risk compliance issues. So the pricing that I have there is for replacement of the pumps that we currently have. By having the same pumps, we have the ability to pull it from one location that's not being used maybe at the time and putting it in another location in less than 5 minutes. Just kind of makes sense to keep with what we have, so we don't have a plethora of spare parts or different systems to understand or to keep up with. There is 2 sets of pricing there. There's the model number A3V24. That is the pump that we currently use. That's the exact model that we have. There's a price below that for an M324. That M is a municipal version of the product. They came out with these 5 years ago, which was after the pumps were put in use at the Charlton plant. But this item provides more features. The M series provides more features, more robust components, a brushless motor that has a longer expected life, and it's more precise. The big one is it's a 5-year warranty versus a 2-year warranty. that the A3 has. They also have a loaner program for the M series pumps. So if we have an issue with one of our pumps, they'll actually bring out a spare for us to use, so there's little to no downtime. And with that municipal series pump, it's actually less than the A series pump. So it's pretty much the same pump, just with a couple different options and a couple more advanced programs or components. So that was my proposal for that. I got pricing from a couple other vendors, but the pricing from USA Blue Book was $4,013. Burt Process is $4,361, and this is for the A model, which again has a little bit more limited options. So my suggestion would be kind of to go with the M series because of the added benefits. I can't get pricing for the municipal series other than through the company, which is Bartlett and Brillin, because they're a sole provider through Blue and White.
Mr. Chair, these pumps always also tie into our SCADA system, so they allow us to flow pace those chemicals based on the incoming flow.
Yeah.
So,
And they are pretty robust pumps. I mean, the pump that we have that is has failed, that pump is 8 years old. And these pumps do get continuous use day in and day out, 24/7.
How many different locations does this pump fit?
It fits 2 different locations for 2 different pumps at each location, so there's 4 in total.
4 in total, so it
Yep.
could go in any one of the 4.
Correct. Even if we go with the municipal series.
The municipal series is cheaper, right?
Yes. Through
It's just-
Bartlett and
It's
Brillin.
just different than what we have. We have the A series now.
Yeah, it's the same provider, same company, same frame size. It just has a couple different options, better suited for municipal use.
With the pump that you got from the other location, did you repair the other pump and bring it back to that other location? Is that what happened with that, or?
The pump that we have that has failed I'm in communication with the service company for the blue-white pumps. We're gonna be sending that out and getting it repaired.
Okay.
So I have it's roughly gonna be probably $1,000 to get that pump repaired. But
and that's why we're asking for a spare, because the lead time to repair it, if it goes down, is probably 3 to 4 weeks. By
yeah,
the time we send it out to that company, have them repair it and send it back.
we might not always be as lucky to have a spare on the shelf at another location as well.
Which models do we currently have?
The A models.
We have the A model,
Yep.
okay. And I did hear you mention that if you buy one of these, they have a loaner program that goes
Correct.
out of service.
Correct.
Are you recommending that we should have these pumps evaluated when they break down to make a determination, do we repair it or replace it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a cost, it's not a very high cost to send them out for evaluation.
Right.
But as we found in the past, when we send out these pumps that are 8 years old, they really want to update pretty much everything in the pump. And a lot of the times, they'll come back and say that it's more cost effective just to replace the pump at that point.
All right, but you just said that you're thinking the cost to repair the one that's in the shop right now is gonna run about $1,000?
Yeah, we have a general idea of the component that
Okay.
has failed.
When's the last time we replaced one of these pumps?
I'm not quite sure.
The 2 that Zach just put on now for the caustic
Yeah,
we sent out and had them rebuilt to try and get them online, because Zach's trying to move the caustic from where it is up near the RBCs down into the chemical room, so
Yeah.
they don't have to bring the 55-gallon drums up
Sure.
around the back of the building.
Yeah.
But the current pumps that are in the current location don't have enough head pressure to go from the chemical or mechanical room
Not enough lift?
all the way up to the,
to where they inject,
to where it
yeah.
wants to inject it. So Zach tried to take 2 of these pumps that we had sitting on the shelf that were bad, send them out to get rebuilt. So we sent them to 2 places.
Yep,
One place was able to just do 2 of the 4 components for like $1,500. That was covered under our monthly limit with our contract with Veolia. Put them in place. One's still operating and one failed for one of the other components that was not replaced, which is why we're gonna try and send that one back, get it repaired, and also get one for a spare. And the nice thing about the peristaltic pumps that you can see is no chemicals run through the pump itself, it just runs through that tube.
Yeah.
So it's a much nicer setup. For the ferric system that we have, we still have 2 pumps there, where it's the piston-style diaphragm pump, where the chemicals run through the diaphragm and the components and cause that to fail. So once we get this up and running, we'll probably be coming forward as those pumps fail to replace them with this as well, just for better longevity and probably less need of repair.
So one of the things you said was potentially taking the new pump, taking one of the other pumps out, keeping the other pumps as a spare. And I guess that brings me to my question of, so with pumps, my history with pumps, anything that is submerged, keep it submerged or keep it dry. This is not an issue because it doesn't go into pump like that. What
Correct.
Peter was just referencing.
correct. There's only one part that gets in contact with the chemical, and that's the peristaltic tube. And that, if that does fail, these pumps have a sensor that will shut down the pump, so it doesn't continue to pump when it's leaking.
Okay, what seems to make sense here is that we should purchase a new M pump, immediately put it online, so that we take advantage of the 5-year warranty, and then finish repairing the pumps that we have out there in the field, put those on the shelf.
Yeah.
And then evaluate it next time one goes down. But we will have one to replace it, because we're repairing one of the ones that we already own.
Correct.
Yeah, that's what seems to make sense.
We'll put a rebuilt spare on the shelf.
Unless you want to buy 4.
No, we want to be able to take
Wouldn't you
advantage of
put
that
the
loaner
rebuild
program
right
too.
in?
No, I would take, no, because if you're buying something, it's guaranteed for 5 years. I mean, I want to take
Oh,
advantage
no,
of the
I'm
warranty
saying put
immediately.
this one in, but also put the rebuilt one in.
Yeah, we could
Because you're
definitely,
gonna get some kind of warranty on the rebuilt one probably too, right?
yeah, they warranty the components that they
Yeah.
change
Yeah,
out.
not
so-
only that, but we can take advantage of that loaner program too.
Yeah, if we have to.
Yeah. Or we could just sort of afford
And
new
then-
ones and write a check out for $16,000.
And how'd you
I think
vote?
there's other places we'd rather spend the
I
additional 12,
think
so
I would
Yeah.
say, yeah.
thank you for
Almost all
offering.
over.
That's right. We'd go-
Yeah, and
Is that a test?
and that's-
we would have an
Taking
outing
his
or
temperature in a
something.
second.
Yeah.
like Pete mentioned, it, down the line, it would probably be a smart thing if a pump fails on the ferric system, to change that out with a similar pump, so that way we have all our chemical pumps being used on the same style, so we can keep
Okay.
spare parts and spare tubes and everything that can be used throughout the facility.
So Zach did try to identify the components that's bad, and try and purchase just the components so we could
Yeah.
replace it ourselves, and he'd get part way with the manufacturer of the component, and they realized what we were using it for, and they said, no, we can't sell it to you, we have to sell it direct to the manufacturer.
Yeah.
So, as far as us repairing it or buying parts ourselves to repair them, it's not.
Well, it's
Not
because
accessible.
It's a proprietary product, correct?
Yeah, they want the components being installed by a, authorized.
Did you check Amazon?
Yeah, we did have a policy quite a while ago that we wouldn't purchase any products that have proprietary tag on them. But these are good pumps.
Yeah, I mean, every facility that I've worked at over the last, 8, 9 years have these pumps in there. They're well-known to be some of the best in the industry.
The 4,200 includes tax, it's everything?
Yeah, well, through the town, it would be
The
tax exempt,
Oh, tax exempt.
and that includes shipping as well.
I always forget
No,
that.
you can't order anything.
Yeah, I've got a long list.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we spend the 4,200 for the M324-MNH pump.
Have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Second.
We have any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in... Yes,
Oh,
sir.
no, I'm sorry.
Discussion.
No,
Well,
I thought you didn't hear anybody second it.
No, I didn't. I
Just did.
got it. Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes unanimous. Okay,
Thank you.
Need me to sign
thanks,
it?
that's one else you need.
Where,
I got 1 out of 2. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Zach.
Jen, this one here you gotta sign.
This one.
Oh,
Is
wait.
it one not
Yeah, she's
signed?
gotta
Oh,
sign,
the
everybody
minute-
else sign it. I
The
think.
minute she abstained,
Oh,
so she won't sign it.
Oh, let me
Sorry.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, you 7 o'clock, I'm not, Bill Pucci was planning on attending, so if you just want to give him a few more minutes, we can go on to new business.
Yep.
Yeah, Bill just walked in.
Oh, yeah. Good timing.
Yeah, he's
7,
18
7.
seconds early. Evening, Bill. Evening. Bill Pucci from Kid Power. Okay, and Mr. Bory, why is Mr. Pucci here?
Well, when he was here when we reviewed his site plan, I informed you that he was going to connect to municipal water, and we informed him at that time that there could be the possibility of a water privilege fee as we were working on ironing out the policy that we were going to use. So recently, you have adopted your water privilege fee policy, which is attached, which states you'll use Title V numbers at a percentage of 0.6 to figure out how many gallons per day to compute the EDUs. One EDU will equal 200 gallons per day, and you'll assess $2,447.16 per EDU. So I informed Mr. Pucci of that. He supplied us with the septic design plan for his building that shows it was designed for 500 gallons per day based on Title V numbers. So you'll see in his email attached, he has the equation done out for you. At 500 gallons per day times 0.6 is 300 gallons per day. Divide that by your 200 gallons per day per EDU, and you come out at a factor of 1.5 EDUs. Multiply that times your fee, and you get a total privilege fee of $3,670.74. He is requesting that the Title V numbers are still excessive, even at the 0.6 multiplier, because there is no true Title V calculation for his current usage. It's not a true I guess, gym where you might have showers and customers will come in there and use the restrooms and use the showers. I don't believe there might be one shower set up or no showers. So it's just restrooms for the children, and they're gonna go use the facility. And he's asking for relief from that and asking that you just assess him a 1 EDU privilege fee. He can speak to that more. But that's what his request is of you. Just forwarding that on.
Just
Okay,
before we get going on the discussion, I have to recuse myself due to construction at the site. So,
Okay, and I probably should recuse myself as well. I have nothing to do with their new facility. But Bill and Kelly were my tenant for over 6 years. I do know about the water issue, or at least the water demand issue. But maybe it wouldn't be fair for me to vote. I may have some information that may be helpful, but I'm not going to vote. So it's going to be left up to Mr. Cantwell, Mr. Gagner, and Ms. Chen.
Mr. Gagner, you're the chair.
Can I share something? I just wanted to, before you make your decision.
Which I think we're going to open up for discussion and have you participate, definitely. I was just trying to give them a kind of a brief rundown of what the request was and why it's on the agenda, so.
Where do we come in as opposed to where Southbridge is part of this now?
So Southbridge charges a different type of connection fee based on the size of the line that's connecting. You voted to charge a privilege fee, not a connection fee, based on the Title V numbers like you do for
I
sewer.
remember that, but I just didn't think that, right now, he's getting water from Southbridge, and I'm just not too sure why he's not subject to the connection fee to Southbridge,
He
not
is,
money to
he,
us.
he paid that already.
Yeah,
But because you own the infrastructure and you're responsible for all repairs, you need to start getting money set aside to make those repairs, and that's what these privilege fees are for.
Okay.
Because we don't get any true funding from the water rates that are set or the revenue that's brought in. And like I said, there's that big liability of having $30 million or even more than that, once these projects are done, of water line that you're responsible for repairing over the next however many years, that we need to start building up your coffers to be able to afford to make those repairs as they're needed. And that's what these fees are set up to do.
all right, we have, you had come up now with a calculation of 1.5 EDUs.
That's the calculation based on your policy.
What we have for Title V figures, something like that, and you wanted less,
He wants to come in at 1 EDU.
you want to go 1 EDU, and what would be the reasoning to go with what you figured rather than what Peter just figured?
So when we were tenants in Mr. Lemansky's building, when we first went to occupy that building, they limited the number of people we could have in the building based on the size of the existing septic system, because they made us use certain Title V numbers. And at that time, I argued, and we abided by the Board of Health's limits, but then for the better part of 3 or 4 years, we kept track of all the meter readings on a weekly, bi-weekly basis, which we submitted, and I have with me, that showed that we use a gallon per person per day. I actually went to the Board of Health and argued again when we were designing the septic for the new building, saying, look, we're using a gallon per person per day. And I said, and Title V allows you to use actual numbers if you double them. So I said, 2 or 3 gallons per day. They came back and said 5 gallons per day is in Title V as a elementary school without a or without a cafeteria, and we'll let you design to 5 gallons per day. So we put in a septic that had 500 gallons per day, basically 100 people at 5 gallons per day. And I tracked this stuff for 3 years, so I know that we're not gonna use 500 gallons per day. Our numbers show a gallon per person per day. So what I had proposed to Peter is I said, look, we'll pay the minimum, which you guys said is 1 EDU, and maybe we can have an agreement where we'll track it for whatever period of time you want to see that I'm not making things up. And if I'm wrong and we use more than, it would have to be more than 200 gallons per day, because I think what you said was, if it's actual usage, there's no 0.6 multiplier. It would just be your, that's what the policy said. Either 0.6 of the Title V design or actual usage. So we would actually have to use more than 300 gallons per day, or actually more than 200 gallons per day to have to pay you more than 1 EDU by my calculations.
It's been my understanding in the past that we have gone by the Title V EDUs not confused with meter readings when it comes to the privilege fee.
Correct.
But you're asking now to go by your actual usage and not what Title V states. We all know Title V is very high in some specs, but that's, in the past, that's what we've gone by.
But the policy, I don't have the policy in front of me, but it said on there, it said 0.6 of Title V or actual usage. That's in your policy.
If I can just jump in here, just information only.
I'm sorry, it does not state that. It just states there'll be a minimum of 1 EDU per
So maybe
commercial
that was our
property.
conversation. that we
There was a
had.
minimum of 1 EDU. It doesn't reference actual usage at all. I have the policy right here.
Yeah, maybe that was just, I'm remembering our conversation about it then.
Yeah, it's just a minimum, it just shows a minimum of 1
Just some information is that when Bill and Kelly were we're pursuing the location at 159 Worcester Road. We had a meeting with the Board of Health, and it was shown to them in the Board of Health that for what they did was not described in the table that the Board of Health has. And, you know, they have gyms with showers, without showers, and then they have schools with cafeterias, without cafeterias. And the agreement with the Board of Health was, and also, let me point this out, at the very end of the table in Title V, there's a paragraph. And the paragraph says that if in fact what you're doing is not listed in the above table, then what you need to do is you need to go and try to find examples within the area that would be similar to this. So that's when the Board of Health agreed, fine, this is what we're gonna do, and what we want you to do is track the water usage, which is what happened. It was tracked every single quarter. The bills in the usage was set in, and the usage, as Bill said, showed very little usage of what they were doing there. In fact, the numbers were right on. So I hear what you're saying, Mr. Gagner, as far as Title V is Title V, but Title V also does offer that exclusion to where if the use is not specifically stated, and if you can prove otherwise, then they will allow you to do less. And I think that's what you already did with the Board of Health.
Yeah, they wouldn't, they still chose to pick a number in the table, that 5 gallons per
Okay.
day for what we had to design. So, it just
All right,
seems
so
like
they
we're,
did- Okay,
we're getting hit every way and sideways. I mean, we had to over-design it. I'm still feel like I'm fighting to say, look, we're not, I even have proof to show you that we don't use that amount of water. And and I have the past logs and I can continue to show that to you. I'm willing to pay the 1 EDU, the 2,500, and I'm willing to pay the Title V numbers if after, whatever, say 6 months, I come here and I say, well, here's all the usage again. I'm telling you again, we're using 1 gallon per person per day. And if you guys say, all right, well, we still want you to pay the 1.5, I mean, I guess that's all I have to say. You guys can decide how you want to handle it.
The water's metered as it comes in.
Correct, there's a water meter there, so we'll know the actual usage, other than unless you use it to water the lawn. But
Which I have a well on the property. You can go out there and see I'm watering the lawn with the well now. I don't need to be paying.
So that means, so yeah, we'll see actual usage from the water meter then.
And that's factual, that the pastures are showing 1 gallon per person per day.
Or you'll be able to see, we'll get the reading for the quarter, divided by the number of days in the quarter, and it should be 100 gallons per day if there's 100 customers per day.
With a minimum of 1 EDU.
Well, I think, it seems fair to me. I don't know if you're gonna start setting a precedent for other people to come.
That's my problem.
With this much information, but,
but
I think if they have the information, I think it's different than not having the information.
But isn't the door being left open here? For instance, if in fact the use of the building changes, that you can go back?
That's the problem too, right?
Are you saying that, Bill?
I'm sorry?
That if in fact either the use or the use of the building changes to where the water usage increases, that it's okay for the commission to come back and say, all right, you've crossed the threshold and. you
Yeah, I
need
mean,
to-"
I'm not trying to, like I said, if we used 500 gallons a day, I'll pay 5. Those of you that know me know that I'm not, I don't try to get around the rules. I'm just trying to do what's fair here. So, yeah, I'm just saying that I know that with my wife's business right now, we're not going to even come close to 500 gallons a day.
and I guess that, no one is not concerned us because they're thinking you're trying to pull one over on us. The problem is somebody else who doesn't have your existing data looking to do the same type of building is gonna get stuck paying what the policy states. And if they come to us later with that data, we're not gonna give them a reimbursement to have them pay the same amount as you. So
Right,
it
I
really has,
understand.
it doesn't have as much to do with, again, yourself or what you're trying to do. It has to do with the precedent we're setting moving forward and how we're gonna have to weigh that against all these future applications. And also consider what we've done in the past, especially for sewer, because there's a lot of sewer customers out there who didn't even get this .6 multiplier that have paid based on Title V numbers that are 5 times their daily usage. And they've paid a privilege fee based on that, so.
I guess the one thing that's different about this case is that if I had known that, I mean, you guys didn't have any information other than saying there's gonna be this privilege fee. So I couldn't, I'm not in a position now where I can go back and argue with the Board of Health about making them pick my actual usage numbers for the design. I'm stuck with what they forced me to design. Like if I looked at it and said, hey, you know what, it's gonna kick my privilege fee up too, so no, I'm expecting you to meet what it says in Title V, which is you can track your actual usage. I don't have that option now. Anyone else that is coming to you in the future would I presumably have that option.
If they went about it properly, right?
If I may, I don't understand what you mean by tracking the usage with Title V where it comes for the construction of your subsurface septic system.
In Title V, there is a section that says that if you don't believe you fall into one of these categories.
Yeah.
And the only reason I know this is because of what we went through getting into your building, and they
Yeah,
limited
exactly.
us to 43 people in
Right,
that building
right.
because of the size of the septic. That you can present data with your actual usage, and then what they do is the Board of Health accepts that, you take your actual usage and you multiply it times, it's 200% of actual usage, and you can
Right.
design to that. If you look, I don't have the sections in front of me. If it's important and you want to continue the meeting, I can get that data for you, but, so we, in theory, in my opinion, could have designed a 200-gallon per day system for that building, based on our actual usage
Right.
times the multiplier.
Bill, respectfully, how big's the Bell building?
8,400.
8,400 square feet. You're gonna build an 8,400 square feet and design it with a septic system for 200 gallons?
No. It was-
You know, okay? So, again, I'm just trying to look at and put myself in the place of a Board of Health member of how I would think and say, look, considering the size of the Bell building, I think what they did was fair, and I think what the commission may do here is also gonna be fair, and that's all you're looking for. And the thing is I know, I am verifying the numbers that you brought forth here, that yes, again, the water was, like you said, less than a
And
gallon
I
per
have,
person.
I have a printout of the Excel
You got it,
spreadsheet if they
yeah.
want to see it, so.
Yeah, all right, I'm gonna shut up, promise.
So are we looking for an answer tonight, or are we looking to get some results from the meter readings before we make a decision?
Well, I think Bill has said that if the meter readings show different, he'll come back and will accept paying more.
Okay?
So if you're if you have enough information to make the decision tonight, then you can make it. If you want more information, let me know, and we can bring it back for another meeting. But I'm not sure there's much more information to really provide.
No.
Be between Jen or Dave, if they want to make a motion.
So tell me about it in 6 months, are they to come back? If
So it'll be on us to, it'll be on, again, our office to, say, police it. We'll have to review the Southbridge water meter reads and make sure that what we're seeing for an average for each quarter is 100 gallons per day. And if it's in excess of, the privilege fee is gonna be based on 200 gallons per
Right, so it's
day.
in excess of 200
So if we
gallons.
see actual usage over 200, or if there's a change of use in the building, Bill said that he'll come back and we'll just have to document this in the file, so that if we see someone come in for a change of use or some type of building permit to add on, that we'll have to recalculate the usage, know that he's paid a privilege fee that accounts for one EDU, and assess him another privilege fee based on what the new use might be.
Open house Saturday.
Yeah.
Are you officially open now for people or not yet?
Yeah,
Not quite.
we got our occupancy permit, like in a few days before July 1st, so.
All right, Jen, you were saying something?
I was just gonna ask, how are we gonna track that we need to review it in 6 months? We just put it
We'll have to put a note in this folder. Sue's good.
I know, Sue's good.
I propose what I did for the Board of Health, which is I know only taking quarterly readings is kind of, so I think, whenever we got a chance, like, it looks like we did it once a month or so, where we took the gauge reading, we converted it to gallons, divided by the number of days, and then we calculated the daily usage. And we voluntarily submitted this once a month. We basically, whoever we go to Sue or whoever, we send a copy, and that way, you know, I'm not just showing up with a chart in 6 months, you've had it all along, and you can see if I'm not right, which I'm not saying I have never been wrong, I'm just saying that this is, you know, I'm offering this to you because I really truly believe that that's what the numbers are gonna show. So it could be a minimal amount of spacing on your part, I'm trying to make it as easy as I can for you.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we charge a privilege fee at one privilege fee. One EDU, sorry, one EDU, at $24.47.16. And we revisit or check the calculations, water usage in the next 6 months to make sure that we're under that 200 gallon a day.
A motion, we have a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion about this? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Abstain.
And 2 abstentions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. Good luck over
Yeah,
there.
have a good night.
Just,
Saturday?
Pardon me?
Saturday, open house?
Yes. 10 o'clock, I think?
It was 10 to 2.
I'm sort of,
come and drink the water.
what's that?
Come and drink the
Yeah,
water.
I'll come and go.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Just as a policy discussion, I don't necessarily think that by doing what was done in this situation changes our policy, because that does fit into the Board of Health policy or Title V policy of him having the data to show the, you know what I mean? So we're not making some exception just for him. That's how-
Understood.
Yeah, we're not
That's how,
creating
as you
precedents.
stated, yes,
Yeah,
as you stated, there is that
Information.
policy in Title V.
right.
So
Great.
if someone else wants to present the same information,
Right.
naturally.
Point taken.
Okay, moving on, we've got new business.
Oh,
I forgot to mention, we wanted to kind of mention what's going on with the Vine Street pump station. Back, I believe it was February, I believe, there were the North Sturbridge,
North Main
the
Street.
North Main Street pump station, the level transducer system failed, and we had to have LaFleur come in, wire it in a temporary system with floats until that they could order some components to change out to a newer, updated version of a level transducer that controlled the alarm system and the pump operation. We today saw the same thing happen at the Vine Street pump station, which is the same system. So we're looking at doing the same fix that was done at North Main. Luckily we had LaFleur on site doing some work, so we had them go over, and we now have the station running on float control until we can get that new system changed out.
So the problem that was happening was when Mike went out to do his station inspection this morning, he saw the gauge for the level transducer continue to rise, and both pumps kick on to try and pump it down when that wasn't the actual level. So therefore, we wanted to try and get it fixed as soon as possible, so the pumps wouldn't run for no reason and burn out. So,
Yeah.
like Zach said, luckily LaFleur was there. They were able to go in there and wire up some floats to operate the pump station until we can have them come back and do the same correction that they did for the North Main Street.
Yeah.
They're
And what-
both the same style, and they're both installed probably within 6 months of each other, so it only makes sense that we're having the same issue now.
So the transducer is what determines the level of the water
Yeah,
and then turns the pump on and off?
yeah, it's a
So that's what
sense,
failed?
yeah, we believe it's the control system that the transducer is relaying the information to. What it is a sensor that sits down at the bottom of the tank, and it measures the pressure. So as the level of water goes up, the pressure on the sensor. So it translates that into a level indicator, and it triggers the pumps and the alarms accordingly, so.
And the
Kinda-
problem, we
kinda-
can't repair it because there's no more parts, because
Yeah.
it's 20 years old.
Yeah, we found out with the North Main Street station that we had no other option other than to change it out.
If you're gonna Band-Aid it, could you Band-Aid it with those, of course, they don't put mercury in them anymore, but the mercury float system type on-off alarm?
That's what it's running off of right now.
Yeah.
That's the Band-Aid.
Why do we keep on, why do we keep on changing what's worked forever, and we want to go and do all this electronic stuff that, you know, you gotta have all these special things for,
Yeah, I
rather
mean,
than on-off switches?
floats at pump stations can have their own problems. Granted, they're usually more inexpensive when it comes to fixing them,
Yeah.
but they become a little bit more problematic because you have grease at the stations that
Exactly,
build
and
up
with
on the
grease
floors. Yeah.
at the homeowners, but,
Yeah.
but at least we have alarms, and the alarms go off, and you go, and you end up doing maintenance earlier than you intended. All right, okay, good enough. So what's the plan here?
We just wanted to inform you, the plan is to fix it and do the same type of repair that we did on North Main Street. We don't have it on the agenda, so we can't ask for your approval for the funding, but we're unfortunately probably just gonna have to try and get it fixed as soon as possible and have you fund it at our September 9th meeting. We just didn't want you to be
Could
surprised.
you have the repairman bid it for floats as well as transducers and all the special stuff?
Yeah, I mean, the floats are the floats, that's what's there now.
I thought you said that the transducer is the
Correct.
part that's broken.
But in
Oh, okay.
order to get the
Oh,
station
so
to
the
fill
Band-Aid
up,
is the floats right now,
yes,
and it's working fine?
as of 4 o'clock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
I'm sorry, I've got a couple pump systems, and we got the good old floats.
Yeah, there's something to be said
Either
for
work or
them.
they don't work. And again, you don't need a electrical degree when something goes wrong. Thank you, Zach.
Yeah,
We'll stay tuned.
Thank you.
So we're gonna move forward with doing the upgrade like we did to North Main Street?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How much is the upgrade?
15? Hey, Zach?
1,500?
I'm just kidding.
It better not be 15, yeah. You've dealt with the float systems, floats,
Many of them.
many of them, yeah. Good old electrical tape, right around the plastic pipe. 1, 2, and 3.
I believe it was less than 5. I believe it might have been less than 4, I just don't wanna go
I
too
don't have the
low.
votes anyways. All right, moving on.
Moving on, okay. I'm gonna do my best not to butcher this, because I'm not a land attorney. So Mr. Peters owns property on Old Worcester Road. When the Phase 2 sewer was done, he gave a portion of his property, an easement for a portion of his property to install a pump station. You'll see in the fold-out sheet, there's 2 different plans for the same parcel of property that shows the easement for the pump station on 2 different corners of the property. Both of these plans were recorded. The plan that is highlighted in pink is incorrect. However, the plan that is incorrect is also how it's recorded or shown on the Board of Assessors field card. So that should be an easy fix. The Board of Assessors was informed of that, and they're gonna try and have the Assessor's field card reflect the correct easement. The correct easement that's highlighted in yellow is correct. The release deed and order of taking have actually been recorded. The incorrect one, the order of taking and the release deed was not recorded. But yes, the plan is recorded, but not the order of taking or the release of the deed. So the plan still shows up on the deed for this property, and Mr. Peters is asking to have it fixed just to clean it up so it's accurate.
It's a housekeeping issue.
Kind of.
Exactly.
So I talked to Mr. Lemansky about this, and I called Attorney Cosgrove, and Attorney Cosgrove said he just transferred all of your sewer stuff to Copeland and Page, so I called Copeland and Page. And Catherine Klein from Copeland and Page came up with the release deed that's attached, which releases the plan, releases the plan that was recorded with the Worcester South Registry of Deeds and Plan Book 741, page 82. So if you folks are okay with that, you would vote to approve this release deed, and then you can, it has to be notarized, so if you could stop by and see Mary, she's there tomorrow, 7 to 7, and sign it, and she can notarize it. Catherine Klein said she'd record it for us, or I can go and record it, and we can just get this cleaned up for Mr. Peters.
I'll make a motion, we sign the release deed and take care of this housekeeping issue.
Second on that?
My second.
Second from Mr. Cantwell. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous.
Great. Thank you for not asking any
All right,
questions.
so we've got a one-by-one, see Mary in the selectman's office.
Yes,
Sign this.
please, yes,
So
and she
it's
will,
Notarize.
yes, because it has to be notarized.
She's there till 7?
Tomorrow, yes.
Okay.
7 to 7 on Tuesdays. So,
Okay, Mr. Gloria, you've got
water line update?
water line update.
All right, so moving on. Ludlow Construction is continuing to make residential connections on Berry Corner Road. They will be finalized, they will be able to actually make the final connections in the home when the Route 169 pump station is activated. What I just passed out is an update as of Friday, August 2nd, of how many residential connections have been made on Berry Corner Road in H-foot. I believe there's 0 on Eleanor Lane at this time. And there's also an attached map that just highlights which parcels on those roadways have been connected. So you'll see right now there is 57 of 88 connected. So, actually, with, yes, 57 of 88 have the plumbing run into the basement and are just awaiting the plumber to do the internal connection, install the meter, and disconnect the well water line. And that can't happen until the Route 169 pump station is active.
Okay, and then the remaining 31, Peter,
They're continuing to do at this time. They're still working on those now.
Right,
They're up
okay.
on H-foot road now in that area where there's a lot of ledge. So each individual connection is taking them a couple of days, not just a couple of hours. So
okay.
they're working and they're moving forward. I don't know if I mentioned it last meeting, but their paving schedule is proposed to begin after Labor Day. They're planning on reclaiming Berry Corner Road from Berry Corner Road to H-foot, and then trying to reclaim from H-foot Road to Ayers Road, and then try and pull as much as they can, one strip, reclaim and pave with binder from Berry Corner Road to H-foot, and then do H-foot from Ayers Road and reclaim and binder, and then try and pull one top coat as far as they can from Route 169 all the way to Ayers Road, and then go over and start working on H-foot Road and have that paving done by the end of this year. So hopefully that road gets cleaned up and we'll be in good shape. They can finish, hopefully most of the groundwork is done, and all the residential connections outside of the homes are done, and they'll just be able to do any inside connections throughout the fall and get those homes connected as soon as possible.
Peter, just a question, homeowners who are having the public water brought into their home, they're required to decommission their wells?
Yes,
Okay.
just like with the ExxonMobil stuff.
Are any homeowners petitioning to hold on to their well and use it for?
There's been one or two, but
irrigation?
most of them have accepted that that's the process.
Okay, but in the meantime, DEP are they allowing those wells to be, to remain?
No.
And use DEP's preferences?
Correct.
Shut them all down and decommission them?
The only wavering I've heard on that was a discussion with Mark Baldy where he stated if it's a shallow well,
Oh,
a
okay.
groundwater well,
Yeah, not a
that could
rock well.
possibly remain on just to service the outside of the home.
Okay, Perfect.
But as far as a bedrock well, no, those all have to be decommissioned as part of your agreement to
Okay.
allow them to
Is-
connect.
Doesn't our policy state that once you tie in, it's decommissioned anyways?
It's not our policy, I believe it's the agreement they signed with so Berry Corner Road, the agreement they signed with Southbridge or Casella to allow them to connect them for free has the clause, we must decommission your well. The agreement that the residents in the school loop that they signed with Kleinfelder or ExxonMobil, part of that agreement is where ExxonMobil will incur all costs to do this, and by the way, you have to decommission your well.
Yep.
So that's where they agree to have that done, is in that agreement. And then the Board of Health just enforces their decommissioning. I don't know if it's a bylaw or regulation, it's probably a regulation, I guess.
I thought it was in our policy.
Water sewer?
It's a
No.
Board of Health policy as far as wells go, in their well policy, about decommissioning.
Even if it's not a contaminated area? See, that's the interesting part,
It's
is
supposed to- no, right, if it's a contaminated area, that's.
if it's outside of a contaminated area, I don't think there's any regulation anywhere stating you can't drill, just like a geothermal well. If you're on public water, you can still drill a geothermal well.
Well, sure, if it's associated with heating, it's.
So if you just want to use it for outside irrigation or to water your garden or do anything like that, if it's outside of the contaminated area, just because you're connected to water, I'm not sure it precludes you from doing that. That's why I think it's in the agreements
Yeah.
between Casella and the residents and also ExxonMobil and the residents that mandate one causes the other.
I think the key is whether or not you're in an area that's been identified as being a resource area for the, for the contaminant. And if it hasn't been identified, then by all means, this is a free country, if you wanna have an artesian well, have 3 of them, they can't stop you.
No, and that's absolutely true, unless, in certain towns, unless the water line goes by your house and you want to tie into it, because you can't tie into it and reap the benefit of the service at your will and have everyone else pay for the brunt of the service and just leave it as, I'm gonna keep using my well and not, this way, I won't incur any cost. Now, if everyone did that on the system,
Right, I will tell you.
then the water company,
My recall is the town of Charlton, way back when, put that, it was a bylaw, that it was mandatory, if water came by, that you had to connect. Next meeting, or 2 town meetings later, that got rescinded.
but I thought at that point in time, when that got rescinded, it said if you tied in, then you had the decommission. So-
My understanding is only if it's in a
Okay.
contaminated area.
I don't believe we have a specific policy
No,
stating
we
that
don't.
either.
Okay.
I don't believe
Yeah.
this commission does.
Right, and back when all of that talk was going on, there wasn't a water commission. It was just a sewer department. Then we became sewer and water a few years ago.
Mhm.
Okay, moving right along.
School loop, Albanese Brothers is continuing to install water main on Mugget Hill Road. Last week, they had 1 crew on Mugget Hill Road only, trying not to get too far ahead of themselves because of the Pan Mass Challenge. They kind of wanted to keep that road as smooth as possible, so they spent some extra time last week trying to get some driveway asphalt in there and try and shim it as best they could. I haven't heard that there was, I guess, any problems with Pan Mass Challenge, so I'm guessing it went pretty well. So today, they have their second crew, so they have 2 crews on Mugget Hill Road, one heading down the hill from Bay Path, and one starting either at the Heritage School one of the Heritage School driveways, working, I guess that'd be west towards the other crew. And I talked with Matt today, and he said they may possibly meet up and have all of the main line installed on Mugget Hill Road this week, if things go
No
well.
road closings.
No, the roads are open.
Okay, just checking. There's no road closings.
Roads are open.
Okay, good.
So that's working well. He does have a service crew also. There's a 3rd crew working inside of the school areas on their school driveway. Matt is aware of the special election on August 13th, so he knows that we need to have, I guess, unobstructed access to the Heritage School so that residents can get there for the vote. and things are moving along, I guess, fairly well. We have a meeting tomorrow, probably be talking about scheduling the Old Worcester Road culverts that need to be done, because that is going to close Old Worcester Road. And we're not going to jump over there while Mugget Hill Road is still under construction, because some people might be taking that as an alternate route, even though Mugget Hill Road is open. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow and see where we end up.
What time are those meetings, Peter?
The school loop is at 9 o'clock and the pump station is at 10,
Good.
somewhere in the library. I'm not sure which room. The Route 169 pump station, RH White has had some setbacks, and they've bumped back the start date for the pump station. I got an email today from Kleinfelder, and they're saying the week of August 26th, the 26th through the 28th, should be the actual startup for the pump station. Again, they're having another meeting tomorrow morning, so I'll have more information from them at that meeting. So it looks like they should have a hard target of the week of August 26th to get that pump station up and running.
Is that a big process, Peter?
Well, it's a lot of coordination, where everything should already have been tested before it left the site, as far as the pump skid and operational and all that. Some of the stuff that's been installed has had to be changed around a little bit and reinstalled, so that's getting done now. Again, as far as startup goes, DEP comes out, RH White.
Yeah, I mean, is there already water in the
White
system,
water.
or just air?
There's water, they've pressure tested everything, but as far as startup of the pumps and all the operational controls, they'll probably do a soft startup on their own, but formal startup, like I said, DEP will be there to make sure everything's operating properly. White Water will be there, RH White, the installer, will be there, we'll be there just to oversee it, McClure Engineering, Kleinfelder. So there'll be,
So it's a production.
it's a lot of, probably more coordination, getting everybody there than actually just having everything work correctly.
Peter's being real nice. RH White, this is their third projected completion date. They had to have 2 extensions.
Well, I'm sure we have a contract where they get fined by
Well,
the day,
they
right?
should be, but they're not, so.
It's not our contract,
It
it's
is-
through
it's not our
ExxonMobil, so
contract.
it's not our contract,
I
so
know.
we're.
Good thing it's not.
It frustrates
They'd
me,
be out of
but,
business.
that's okay. The thing is, in fact, Peter and I took a little trip there last week. It's looking good.
Progress.
Looking good.
They were there doing some landscaping last week,
Nice.
cleaning that up, so you make it look nice anyways.
So with that, on all the laterals that are being installed, all the main has water in it from being tested up there, Berry Corner.
Yes.
East Corner.
Yep.
So on all the laterals that they are installing, they're just visually inspecting.
That's how they do all their laterals.
They do, but typically they have
Enough pressure.
They have the pressure on them.
So
We'll see
I
what
bel-
happens.
Huh?
We'll see
they-
what happens.
So there's enough pressure to get water up into all of that pipe, and it's also, I'm not sure what the static pressure is, I believe there's enough to visually inspect what's going on there. The pump station is just, because the pump station is just, because there's a PRV vault at the base of Route 169 and Route 20, and Berry
Yeah.
Corner Road, so I believe with the existing water line that's active, there's enough pressure there to do what they're doing, there's just not enough pressure and flow to handle actual usage. So they should be able to do the.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
all those up there, what are they slated for? They're gonna get 60 pounds, 70
Yes.
pounds? So,
That'd be great if we got that much.
I think that's
what
gonna
it's
be the high side, and I think
Yeah,
some of the high points might be a little bit lower than that,
yeah,
so.
yeah, but it's not like they're not gonna be at 120, 150.
No, definitely
no,
not.
no, no.
So,
No.
okay. So if they were, it would be more of a concern.
Yes, a higher pressure, definitely. Yeah.
Lower pressure, no. So,
I guess last, Buffalo Public Water Supply, DC Engineering has been surveying the property and should have our A&R plan ready for the planning board's meeting on, I believe it's on August 21st. After that A&R is completed and recorded, we can have a deed drafted and there's a few requirements we have to go through with DEP before we can purchase the property. So once we get the deed drafted and some other stuff, I can finalize that process. One of those is we have to hold a public hearing as part of one of our meetings to allow public comment, because we're purchasing the property for our proposed public water supply. So once I get all the requirements of their application process done, we'll be able to get that process moving, so. Still moving along, and I'm still working with Beta to come up with a scope of services for our FY20 grant that we received, the Water Master Plan grant. So, once we get that done, we'll give it to you for a revision and then submit it to DEP for approval as well. So, other than that, things are going day to day.
Excellent. Okay, do we have any other items that were unknown at the time of posting? The other thing I want to bring up is that the loose manhole covers, you know, when you drive over, they come over them? Yeah, we need to do something about those.
We have some in town?
Where? We have a bunch in town. Where? When you drive down,
Masonic Home Road.
Masonic Home
Yeah,
Road,
there's
there's
one.
two of them there. One of them just sounds like it's gonna flip right off. I think there's one on Center Depot Road. So I think if you hear any or whatever, just try to knock down the locations and report it to the office. And I know one of the ways of doing it would be to, you know, if they're not cracked, is tack weld them.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if one of those comes off and a car falls into them, I mean, you know, you'll get major damage and you wouldn't want to hurt anybody.
Have you heard of any other towns tack welding them?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
On highways?
On highways or in and around town? Because the only other way to repair it would be to replace these covers and frames.
Well, the other way to do it is to coal patch them too.
You mean go right over?
You can just put coal patch on them, sometimes that does it.
All right, then.
You know what I mean? If you have a real sloppy one, noisy one, coal patch the thing, and sometimes
And
that
that's,
takes care of
that's,
it. but
that's
unless
a pretty
it's
good
on-
idea.
Unless it's on a highway, I wouldn't weld it.
Talk it over with the superintendent and talk it over with Viola and let's come up with a plan.
I'll talk to Jerry.
Talk to Jerry.
Yeah, right?
There are manholes, we can talk to Jerry, see if he can help us out.
Yeah. Where's your list?
It's coming.
All right.
Anybody out there know of any loose covers? Send the address. Call Sue.
Call Sue, there you go.
Call Sue.
New full-time job for you.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's on, I'm not quite sure where, I'll call you back. I'll call you back.
Near Baker's house.
Yep, it's next to Bob's house.
Okay,
By the
if there's
farm.
nothing else, then our next scheduled meeting is September 9th, 2019. September 9th.
Hey, Pete, quick question. When I first came on, I feel like something was brought up about the fence around the pump station on Stevens Park Road. Did that ever get replaced?
No. No, the fence is kind of the least of our worries. It's more so the electrical panel and some other stuff that's kind of been uprooted. So we applied for a grant that we didn't get. I need to follow up with the MVP program and see why we didn't get the grant, and see if we can reapply and go from there.
Have we gotten a bid on what it would take
No.
to physical, because we got physical problems down there. In other words,
We'll
bring
run
some
it
material
over
in.
it and-
Okay, yeah, pour some cement, do whatever we need to do. Have we gotten a bid for that?
No.
Maybe we need someone to
Well-
write the scope of
We
work.
need to create the scope of work before we can get a bid, which
Okay.
is to create a true scope of work and figure what we have to do for how to repair the drainage. So you're gonna start with how to fix the water before you even
How you
fix the
gonna
pump station.
reroute the water so
Yes.
that you may have to
There's no-
get highway involved here.
Correct. Or hire someone to just come in and do the whole job.
There you go. Here's what I do know, is the original quote was like $150,000, $160,000. We were going to get a grant, but we were going to have to pay 40. And I think we can fix this thing for a lot less than 40. So, let's see. We will find out because.
And we're not building a structure, we're just moving some drainage around and putting a new fence up?
Well, you have to, it's the fence, and then you also have to re-pour the pads that hold the electrical panels up, and it's more than just changing the fence.
But there's also engineering involved because it's next to wetland. You can do all the wetland
Oh, so it's a
flagging.
project.
all of
Okay.
that.
Well, just to hire an engineer to create the scope of work is gonna be $6,000.
Okay.
No, you do.
It's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, do you want me to hire an engineer to create the scope of work?
No, I'll take a ride over there with you and
Okay.
we'll look at that. Maybe we can come up with the scope of work and
That's
itemize
up.
list. So,
Because it's, I mean, I think to
It's a
have,
great
to
idea.
have 3 contractors come look at it and provide you a cost to repair it, I'm not sure. I think we need to identify the scope of work, so each contractor is bidding the
I
same
think you're
job.
definitely gonna have to do, a scope of work, you're gonna have to do wetland delineation
Mhm.
and a little plan. I mean, that's then the contractors can see exactly what they're
Right.
doing, what they're required, that's it.
Yeah.
But we'll start with the scope of work first, that'll
Yes.
generate the engineer's plan.
Okay. Very
Thank
good.
you.
Okay,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. We have any discussion to stay longer?
No.
Nothing else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good, people.